everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Queen Charlotte, Season 1, Episodes 2 and 3.
Honeymoon, Bliss, and Even Days.
Mm-mm.
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah. We were talked a little bit during our watch along, which is on Patreon. There's a couple of things like the scenes with Violet and Lady Danbury in the present day that I'm like, you guys have been friends for decades. You should know some of these things about each other.
I do agree.
Yeah.
What I will say is that this was a very performative time period.
That's fair.
Socially.
That's fair.
So I could see that you could have spent lots of time with your best friend and not have a clue what they're actually like. But
that's fair.
I am enjoying it because I love the world of Bridgerton and I love the sensibilities, and I would look at I could watch it on mute. Like a screensaver. I love looking at it. I do, and I think it for me does suffer a little bit from prequelitis in the sense that I largely know where a lot of these things are going.
Yeah.
Like, I am aware that Queen Charlotte is deeply devoted to George. Mm-hmm. So I'm sort of like, well, whatever this issue that he has is, they're gonna get through it. I mean, we literally know. Well, because I actually don't remember. They covered it in season 2 of Bridgerton. There was an episode where she explained.
That I don't remember.
Okay.
What I remember is the season 1 episode where he's lucid. And they come and have dinner together, and then he's like, send for Amelia, who I guess was his favorite daughter, because they didn't realize they had 15 children. And she has to be like, she died. And then he goes crazy, and he's like, what did you do to my daughter?
He did go crazy. Yeah. That is one of my issues, and we ended on a really good note.
Yeah.
I'm like, actually, the production, the writing, the acting, the filming of the scene really worked for me. So I'm actually in a very good spot. There was a point in the middle where I was a little bit sort of frustrated because I was like, what are we doing? And again, I know what we're doing, but it was feeling slightly more labored than I thought it needed to be.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is I don't think they should have had what was clearly a fight off screen. Like in between episode 2 and 3, after she overheard Princess Augusta and George going at it, they clearly had a fight off screen, or else he shouldn't be angry at her. And so my thing is, I think they should have had that fight on screen.
I just think their meet cute was so successful, and I know that he turned on a dime on their honeymoon evening, but I needed to see what we were dealing with, which again we got at the end of episode 3.
Yeah, so the issue then is at the end of episode 2, when she overheard them, she was thinking they liked each other again and that everything was going to be okay moving forward. But then she heard him basically saying, I did my duty and stop asking me about it now.
She took it personally.
Exactly. And so, but again, then they had a fight off screen.
Well, because I said in our watch along, I was like, girl, that says more about his mom, about Augusta. I was like, then it does you or him.
Yeah. So that's another thing too, that I'm actually finding really interesting is the positioning of Lady Danbury, because
she's my favorite.
Charlotte truly had zero idea what this meant, because I think
but also me as the audience, because they're go ahead.
I think what we were meant to take is that somehow or for some reason in Germany this is not an issue, like the races is not an issue, but it's still an issue in England. And so part of the problem is that Charlotte is sort of totally unfazed, and she doesn't realize how brand spanking new this is.
It's the hardest part I have with Bridgerton, and it's not conceptually. I love it conceptually. I love the revisionist history of Bridgerton, but when you revise history that way, you invite questions, and I don't find that the show can stand up to that level of scrutiny, because you literally said when we were watching the first episode, you were like, so wait a minute, the implication in season 1 of Bridgerton was that Queen Charlotte marrying King George was what ushered in this new era. And then within seconds of you saying that, they started talking about what they're referring to as the Great Experiment. So it seems to be that people of color have
money,
wealth, and accomplishments, but are still not considered on equal footing with the white people, or just the royalty?
I think the white people.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like none of the men would invite Lord Danbury to the hunts, and he wasn't allowed to go to White's, which is the gentleman's club.
A little on the nose.
A little on the nose. It's still called White's. It's like still the one, yeah, but I'm just saying. But that's what was kind of interesting to me.
And so by Queen Charlotte marrying George, they sort of, and this is where Augusta, Princess Augusta, I haven't quite gotten a sense of where she stands in all, like, she doesn't, like, for instance, Violet's mother is racist.
Yes.
That's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly getting that from Augusta.
No, but I think she would just as soon left the status quo.
Okay.
But because Charlotte turned out so brown, because they basically plucked her from Germany sight unseen, she's going with it because politically it makes sense.
So it's what she's giving me. There's an...
And like Lord Bute is...
I just want to say, I actually love this. I love this kind of stuff, but I am aware of the optics of the two of us having the conversation.
Well, it's also...
So if you feel trepidation from me, it's more so I'm trying to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn.
Sure.
But what did you start to say?
It's also super dicey because King George was king during the American Revolution, and there's lots of slavery implications and stuff too.
Well, and
this seems to be...
And that's what I mean, where I was like, you can't really pull it to threads.
Yeah. This like might exist in a world where like the American colonies don't exist, but
and so
except they do, because
no, they do.
Portia was gonna escape.
But that's precisely what I meant when I was like, it's one of my favorite things about Bridgerton, but it also you can't unpack it. It begs for unpacking, but you can't do it.
Yeah.
And so this was just sort of my disclaimer to be like, I'm trying to have a good faith conversation about this stuff.
Sure.
So if I misspeak, just let me know or what have you. But as what I started to say is Princess Augusta gives me a word that I don't think we use nearly enough, because I think it's a very useful word, but it's prejudice. Because I always thought there was a difference between racism and prejudice. I thought racism was rooted in it was a harder, stronger, harsher assessment of like your character, where it's like I always thought prejudice was a bit more learned or a bit more behavioral.
Both things are that, but I would agree with you. It's like you can I feel like somebody can overcome prejudice perhaps
much easier than you can racism.
Than flat out racism. Yeah. Like virulent racism. Yeah.
And so and I understand like how we get to these places, because it's a very real, very serious thing that, I take seriously. But also I have a hard time discussing it or like breaking it down. And so Princess Augusta, I agree with you. I think she would have been just as fine to uphold the status quo, but she's interested in what, again, they're referring to as the Great Experiment. So that has allowed several people, including Agatha Danbury and her husband. I also, I have slight issue because I kind of liked him based on how the actor was portraying him and based on how, he seems
the worst. Yeah.
He seems gross, but he doesn't seem vile.
Exactly.
And modern day Lady Danbury.
No, for sure. And so that was when we were watching season 3 of Bridgerton, and she was just reaming her brother for marrying her off to this horrid man. I was like, oh, he must have hit her.
This guy seems just kind of bumbling.
He sucks, and he's old, and his teeth are rotten.
He's crass.
And
he probably farts at dinner. But that's not vile.
I know, and again, it's not I want to see Agatha getting abused or anything, but there's not even
there's a disconnect.
The literal only implication is that he is fucking her, and she's not a participant. No.
But it's being presented as ugh, it's my duty.
Exactly. And kind of comical, where she's just she's
it
rolling her eyes.
Played for comedy.
She's yawning. And so then I'm like, did you forget that it wasn't actually so bad? Or
I think the show's trying to have it both ways.
Yeah.
And I think the show does that a lot.
Yeah.
To mix varying levels of success.
Yeah. I'm her reaction in the Bridgerton current day is outsized to the actual
to what we saw.
What we are witnessing within her marriage.
I do love Coral, though.
her maid is, so Lord Danbury is dead by the end of this third episode, which is truly amazing. But she leaves, it's mid fucking as well, and he falls straight over backwards off the end of the bed. Truly hilarious. And so she gets her dressing gown on, goes outside, and Coral is like, oh, I've got some lavender oil today for your bath, and like, and she just is like, you won't need to run me a bath anymore. And it's like they've been literally waiting for it. She's like, go back inside and I'll ring the alarm. And like they had a plan.
It was like veering on Yzma and Kronk.
It really was. Not that lever. Like it was very
on the head.
So funny.
I really enjoyed that. But no, there was a point kind of mid episode 3 where I was like, I'm not sure that I follow what's happening. And you sort of knowingly were like, what do you think's happening?
Yeah.
And that kind of told me all that I need to know, which was that I am following it. It just hasn't, it wasn't crystal clear.
Yeah.
And so basically, as part of the Great Experiment, certain families were effectively promoted, for lack of a better word, given titles
and land.
And Princess Augusta is in cahoots with Agatha.
She was mostly still worried that George and Charlotte weren't having sex.
Lady Danbury is in a precarious position that she's navigating very beautifully, which is, I mean, well, because she's playing kind of both sides.
Well, so here's the thing is, I think she truly likes Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that Augusta is a necessary evil for her. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I think she would throw over Augusta for Charlotte.
I also think, I would even venture to say, I mean, I don't know what the rest of the episodes go, but I would venture to say that Charlotte learned a great deal from Princess Augusta, because it's slightly less antagonistic, but it's a little bit like the role Queen Charlotte plays in Bridgerton.
Yes, except they have not shared another scene since episode 1.
Do you wish they had?
No, I wish Michelle Farrelly was having scenes with India, but I think it works for the story because it lends the credence to Augusta being prejudiced, where she's like, I'm going to sneak around with, your friend and also my son, and I'm not going to involve myself with you at all because I'm going to do it through outside means. So I think it holds up that level of the story. But yeah, of course, I wish those actresses were in scenes together.
Well, because I was a little bit confused with the ball Lady Danbury was throwing, because I guess that was the first big test of the Great Experiment.
Yeah.
Because why were the women turning down the invitation to the ball?
Because she's black. But
it seems like they like her.
Yes, but apparently Lady Ledger, I think, Violet's mom, I think,
is she sabotaging? Or
well, she's like maybe the leader of the rest of the ladies in waiting, and so she was like, "Oh, so sad we can't come."
So they're performing.
It's like The Help.
Okay, they're performing pleasantries.
Yeah.
Oh, ew.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because so that's where I'm confused. I was like, I don't know. It seems like mission accomplished. Yeah. Like a job well done. And it was like, oh no, we still have miles to go. So we did meet young Violet. Mm-hmm. She is her father's daughter.
Thank God. I mean, and her father's great. I liked her father a lot.
Yeah, but he's still married to that woman.
That's not his fault.
Isn't it?
No, it's probably his or her mother's fault.
But he seems rather taken by Agatha, and he invited her husband to go hunting, and it's not going to happen. But
well, no, but I think he was sincere about the invitation.
But yeah, so there was that scene because Queen Charlotte has tunnel vision. Something that we know that stays true.
Well, sure.
That's one of Queen Charlotte's actually, I think, might be one of my favorite modern characters. I love that for how amazing she is flawed.
She's sometimes such an idiot, and then
my favorite,
and she's sometimes so obtuse. So that is really funny. So basically, what's happening is she does not understand what George is up to. Like, he's constantly in the garden. She doesn't know why.
Well, because I didn't either.
Yeah.
I'm sort of like, and basically in my mind, I was like, what is he, a fucking werewolf? And I was like, oh, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
So does he have a condition or?
Yes.
Okay.
I was looking it up and it's on the Wikipedia. So for a long time, there was a study where they thought it actually was a physiological thing, like a liver disorder that was like affecting other stuff. But like more...
This is historical figure, George?
Historical figure, George. But more recent studies basically just believe he was bipolar.
Okay.
So it was just like episodes of mania.
And is it like dementia where it's triggered by sundowning?
Kind of. I'm not 100. I don't know all my psychiatric
that's
disorders.
what seems like what's happens. Is it seems like the transition into night is where we lose him.
Yeah, that just doesn't. That didn't.
Is that just dramatic
fully,
flair?
I don't know. That didn't fully seem like sundowning to me. He was like having an episode.
But here naked talking to Venus, yes. But when he like lost his temper on their honeymoon night, and there's been a handful of times where, because like I said, their meet cute, like that was a different person than the person that was sort of fighting with her. And
well, okay, so on their wedding night, I don't think he was having an episode. I think he was like, "Why won't you just let me leave?"
She was trying
because
his patience.
I have a thing, and you don't know I have a thing, and I don't want you to know I have a thing, and so I need to leave. So he, I believe, knows there's something wrong with him, but he doesn't like.
Yeah. Like I said, by the time I mean, I know it is authentic. I know it does happen in real life, but I hate how in shows like this, or in the movie and TV world, it's so easy to get pregnant until that's meant to be a plot point. Because they are doing nothing but have sex and nothing, and they're having it good and real. Yeah. And nothing is taking.
So there's like lots of different reasons why that might be. They didn't know anything about ovulation. They also didn't know that like having sex every day can actually decrease your chances because there's not as much sperm in the ejaculate. This is a very scientific conversation now, but it's true. So sometimes if you're having fertility issues and everything medically seems fine, they tell you to like only have sex when you're ovulating, and like the man is not
Make
allowed
it count. Don't blow your wad.
He's not allowed to masturbate in between. Yeah. So that's a thing. So it's just like, also there's been some stressors and stuff. So yeah.
No, all in all, I mean, I enjoy it. I love, this world. I like this show, but possibly even, will love it. There was a handful of things that was a little bit, I was like, okay, so what? Yeah. Like, and I mean, I think we already kind of touched on this, but I do agree the present day scene with Violet and Lady Danbury felt very,
manufactured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so they had the scene in the church where she was like, Violet was like, it's Edmund's birthday and I feel so sad and I used to make hats and all this stuff. And then Agatha was like, you're very fortunate. Yeah. And she was like, I beg your pardon. And so that's the other thing is where it's like, even if Violet doesn't know that Agatha hated her marriage, she has at least known Agatha long enough to know that she meant no harm or malice with that comment. And so it was, and then apparently Violet put her off for weeks to have tea.
That almost felt out of character for Violet.
Until Agatha sent a carriage and like apparently too many footmen to escort Violet
and
to
Violet
tea.
But she played the entire beginning and middle of that scene like this.
Yeah, she was fully like no eye contact. So funny.
And again, part of me is like, well, I'm entertained. Yeah. But another part of me is like, I don't know. And then we kind of had a present day scene with Queen Charlotte preparing for Christmas. Yeah. And
with her daughters.
And she's very preoccupied with there not being enough decoration and color on the trees. And then Brimsley kind of told her that it's her own fault.
Not really her own fault, but basically what because you were looking for the wig, the picture. Basically, she was like, why did my girls never marry? And he was like, I don't know. They're beautiful and accomplished and all of this. And she was like, shut up and talk to me for real. And he was like, I guess George is going to have an episode, a serious episode at some point. Because what he said is, if he had died then, you would have grieved, but you would have moved on. But you are still his queen.
She's frozen in amber.
And you are frozen in time. And they couldn't leave you here all alone, frozen. And so, again,
Charlotte
it's like,
was not a fan of that.
She was like, go back there and don't look at me! And put more gold on the tree!
This was very Olivia Colman.
Yeah. We should also note that Violet is quite a bit younger than at least Agatha. I guess she's the eldest.
It would be like 5 years.
Well, I get no more. Agatha's had 4 children already.
Sure. Charlotte was 17.
I would say she's probably only 2 or 3 years younger than the Queen, but I feel like Agatha might be 10 years older than both of them. Like, I think she's in her 20s for sure.
Okay.
But Violet is not out yet.
Yeah.
Because she's not allowed to go to this party.
And I think I've mentioned this, but I did like when Agatha kind of told Queen Charlotte off.
Yeah.
Because again, as much as I love Queen Charlotte, she needs to be
told
off occasionally.
So that's when she was like, you don't understand
what's at stake.
What is at stake for all of us. If this fails, it's bad for everybody, and you should understand that. And so then Charlotte was like, she finally talked to George, and she was like, we have to go to this party, basically. And so they went and they danced. And then I am just remembering comments from our season 3 of Bridgerton stuff, which was what made us do this, because Violet's father did really just go straight for Agatha. And I'm remembering some of the comments you guys made.
Oh.
So thank you for that, I guess. But yeah, I am largely
great.
Loving it. I think it's great. I'm having, like you said, I'm having so much fun just like being in the world. I like watching this stuff. I could do, like, honestly, without Charlotte's children anymore. They all are simpering and terror, and the boys all suck.
It's funny.
There's also 50 illegitimate children? 50?
I think they're funny, and so far they're not being used a lot.
That's fair.
So,
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Just, like, how many sons are there? What is that?
There was, like, 4 daughters, and there was, like, 8.
Okay, because a couple of them have died. So if there were, like, 15 total, let's go with, like...
It seemed like there was 10 people that I counted in that room.
Okay, so let's go 6?
Yeah.
6 or 7 sons? That's so many illegitimate children. Per son. My God. Just elevates it. You've done this before. Just elevate some of those children and your problem is solved. Like, crying out loud.
So, okay. We're gonna keep watching. I'm not sure when we'll be back. We'll be back.
Yeah.
When we have things to talk about.
Bye.